What's going on, folks? Michael back with another awesome episode. Today we're talking about the Jato again. My last Jato video did pretty good, so I figured I'd go into more detail and depth with you guys now that I have some time on it. I've been running it pretty much exclusively at the track now lately, and I've discovered some issues, I guess you could say, that I just want to share with you guys. So if you guys buy this car, you'd be prepared. Hey, you probably need to change these parts out and go that route. So I don't know. I'm not like ecstatically happy with this car. It is so fun to drive. It is a blast to drive, but I almost feel like it's a little fragile, and so that would take away from some of the fun from driving it, right? Today was a good run. I got through 3 battery packs. At the end, I did have something weird happen. I think I sheared an axle pin here on the front, but it was quite unique because a kid that grabbed it, he's like, oh, I seen this part come off, and he grabbed this little part, but then just left the wheel there and came running back with the car. It was kind of funny, but so yeah, what I think happened here, this was on the 3rd run today. It looks like the pin here sheared, and I know I've heard some of you guys talk about these pins, and that's kind of a weak point. I agree. The pins that I have pulled out and replaced, some of them have been bent, and I think this is the 2nd pin that I've sheared. But I think that the shearing process has happened from me breaking the axles too. So anyways, this pin sheared, and then I think it kind of wallered out the inside of this hub a little bit. I'm not sure. I'll know when I put it back together. So, and then of course, you know, the hub retainer here. If you guys get this car, you're gonna need extra axles, you're gonna need extra hub retainers, and you're gonna need extra pins just to keep in your toolbox for when they go. So there's that. I was at the track yesterday, and I ran a full pack completely through the car. And okay, let's back up to when I was at the track last week with the car. I got about halfway through a pack, kind of came up high on a berm and got into this fence a little bit, and then the car came out of the berm. I drove it over, I did one jump, and I was like, something's off, and come to find out I had sheared one of the back shock shafts. Didn't bend it, I sheared it. So I'm almost thinking that possibly it was hyperextended. You're fine, I stopped talking. It's whatever. That's what the editor's for. So yeah, I sheared a shock shaft. It sheared right at the cup, right where the threads start. I mean, it's a clean break, came right off. So again, I think it was maybe hyperextended to some point. There's no limiters on here on these A-arms. And that's one thing I've been thinking about doing to the shocks, is putting limiters inside the shocks, maybe getting like a little bit of fuel tubing so it has a little bit of cushion when it does overextend. That's something I'm probably going to do in the future. So that happened. I ordered the shock shafts. I got the titanium nitride shock shafts that you guys can see here, the gold ones. I'm recording now. Yeah. It's all right. I just told Luigi, I was like, that's what the editor's for. So I got the titanium shock shafts, and I just put them on the rear shocks because I wanted to get back out to the track and run. I didn't really have time that day to get the front shocks rebuilt. Got out to the track, this was yesterday, put a complete pack through the track, on the track, and it was complete chaos. There was kids all out there running around and bashing slashes into everybody, and it was just crazy. Got to the 2nd pack, and I was about a minute in. Car came back, slammed down in the front, and both shock shafts were bent. One of them was severely bent, like had a huge angle in it, and so yeah, and it was just locked up. So the one thing I can't really figure out is why people are bending so many shock shafts on this car. The only thing I can come up with is that they're just so angled that when they're all the way extended, where the shock shaft meets the bottom of the body, I think that creates the weak point.
Hey, Michael?
Oh, God. Yes?
Can you take the chocolate out of the oven, please?
Yep. We're going to get this video done one way or the other. It's a little busy in the house today, as you can see. I'm going to have to set up my own studio if I keep doing this. Okay, where were we? Shock shafts bending. So my theory on these is if your shocks are, you know, say like this, then this arm coming up like this is going to create a moment here, especially with the thick shock oil. They run, I think the car comes with 50 weight in the front. And so that angle combined with the thickness of the oil, I don't know. That's the only thing I can come up with. If you guys can tell me another way that these shock shafts are bending, great, tell me. So I got the titanium shock shafts put in the front. I also changed the shock oil. I went to 37.5 weight all the way around, and the car is much more planted. It's a lot more planted now on the track versus having the heavier weight oil. The downfall of that is the car bottoms out a lot easier. So kind of dealing with that, going back and forth. The track I run on, the bash track, it's super rough. And so yeah, there's that. So yeah, today went out there, ran, got through a full pack, no problems at all. Got halfway through the second pack, and I lost a hinge pin in the front. And I was just like, what? Like, I thought I broke a knuckle or something up front. Came back all, the wheel all dangling off or whatever. And I looked, nothing was broke, and the hinge pin was gone. So that's another issue on this car. The hinge pins keep backing out. I know that's a classic Traxxas issue. So what I've done on the rear, you can take and drill out just one. So you have 2 holes in the A-arm. Okay, yeah, let the pin goes through here. Just drill out one. Take like a 140,000 size drill bit. Just drill the one hole. And then I took super glue and super glued the threads into the knuckle. And the back ones held fine. Those were fine. I didn't do that to the front. But yeah, so I lost that hinge pin, and I walked around the track for like 5 minutes, and I found the hinge pin. I couldn't believe it. So I got really lucky. Threw it back in with some super glue. So there's that. The one thing I would suggest you guys do is for sure super glue your hinge pins just on the threaded part. Obviously you want them to move good and everything. You really got to keep an eye on these hub retainers. These hub retainers came loose within the first couple runs when I pulled the car out of the box. And I think maybe one of them coming loose contributed to me breaking one of the axles. I'm not 100% sure. I might go and use red Loctite on these just to keep them on there. Because again, this one backed out, but again, because we sheared one of these. So there's that. Haven't broke a shock tower yet. I know you guys see the orange shock towers. I still have the original shock tower up front, and I've been banging the crap out of this car. Obviously I'm shearing stuff and breaking shafts. But yeah, front shock tower's been holding up perfect. So there's that. The other thing I had to do is I had to poke holes in the tires. So I put 2 holes, one on each side, to help extract the water. I ran this car in snow, and then I totally submerged the whole car accidentally on the track a couple weeks ago. I just hit a mud puddle. I didn't see it was hidden behind a berm. The complete car was underwater, everything. So my tires got filled up with water, and then they were just, bouncing all over the place. You got to put the holes in the tires to extract the water out. Now, that being said, I've got 4 runs now, I think, after I've poked holes in the tires, and it's almost like it's almost like the foam is disintegrating inside the tires. So like that, there's no like foam left on this side on the front one. Like you can just feel it. There's no foam in there. So I don't know. I mean, the back ones feel okay, but this is the front outside one, and it feels like it's just non-existent in there anymore. So I don't know what's up with that. We'll for sure be experimenting with new tires and that kind of thing on this car. But yeah, just a couple things to look out for, guys. Stock up on axle shafts. Now you can see that I got the updated, I got the Traxxas CVDs in the back. I had to get the hardened steel ones because I kept shearing off the rear axles. I'm not busting the U-joints or twisting the shafts like typically happens on a slash. I'm shearing the axle off. So, and I think some of that could be contributed to the wheels that I run, the street wheels. You guys seen those before, the D-boots that I have for this thing, just amazing. So yeah, I just hope that I can get these kinks worked out and maybe even find some hardened steel pins for these axles. I'm still running the stock front ones. I haven't broke a stock one yet. But yeah, you can see the pin still in there, it's sheared off. So Loctite, either use red or make sure they're Loctited, or check them every other run on your hub retainers. Super glue your pins and check all your screws. Like I even noticed, like sometimes on this front shock tower, after say 5 or 6 runs, you can get a quarter turn on every screw up front. So you might want to go back, and I always tell people super glue is like Loctite for metal on plastic. So metal on plastic is super glue, metal on metal is Loctite. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, and when I dunked this car, it completely submerged it. Of course, nothing happened to electronics, but I did notice the bearings getting a little gritty, like right out of the gate. So I completely tore the whole car down, cleaned all the bearings, lubed all the bearings. I even replaced a couple of the bearings too, just to be on the safe side. Repacked the diff in the back with fresh grease, and I re-greased the ring and pinions. And yeah, oil the bearings in the motor. And yeah, I mean, this car rocks. It's super fast. It is so fast on the track. And combined with the decent handling, now it's still a little bumpy in the back, but we're getting those worked out. And I'm getting traction roll too. I'm getting traction roll in this car in the dirt, which that's better than just spinning out and sliding everywhere. We can work with that. So I think I'm gonna get the adjustable camber links and steering links. I want more steering, and you know, I'm not like the king at 4x4 setup, but I know if you put a little toe out, I think you can get a little more steering. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. And then I was going to add a little more camber to the back to try to help with some of the traction roll that I get. So, but yeah, the car is super fast. We run I wish I had some video of the track, but we run a pretty decent track, and there's only like a split second that I get to full throttle, and it's on the very back of the straight, and it's just real quick. The rest of the track is pretty much 25 to 50% throttle and having no problems clearing any jumps. So maybe in the future for track use, I might go down to like a 12 tooth or 13 tooth pinion on that to see. But if you guys are running like a long, wide open track, it might be geared okay, but I think all around 14 tooth is too much for the track. I mean, the car just rips. And I'm not bragging or anything, but both days I was the fastest guy out there on the track. Nobody was doing anything or even coming close to keeping up. And the cool thing about this car is because it's so fast, you can make up time on the straights if you get behind a little bit, or you can just pull away from people in the straights. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun. So yeah, love the car. It's got a lot of great potential in it. I like my RC setup to where I can just go run them all day, and then when I get bored, I can just throw them back in the truck. This is not that car. I want to try to get it to that point, and hopefully someday I'll be able to. But yeah, shock shafts, rear axles, check your bolts, super glue anything metal to plastic, and Loctite any metal to metal. And yeah, if you guys are having any issues with your Jatos, post down below in the comments, and we can go from there. I know it's a new car, it's a new ride, so I know there's some kinks or whatever, and this is for like a buggy, this has probably been my most finicky buggy I've ever had. But I don't know, there's something there that's going to keep me going. I mean, I was almost thinking to myself, I was like, you know what, if I go out and bend more shock shafts today, if I bend these, like, I'm probably going to try to sell this car and maybe go try an Arma or something. But yeah, these shock shafts held up good. And again, like I said, I put them to the outside mounting holes, and 37.5 weight, and then we're in the stock mounting locations in the back still. I've messed around a little bit with the back, but I just went back to the stock, especially running the 37.5 weight. So yeah, if you guys are running track, try the 37.5 weight or 35, possibly 40, you know, depending on how rough your track is. If your track is a lot smoother, maybe 40, 45 or something. But I think the 50 and 60 weight shock oil is there for the bashers, you know, to help it from not bottoming out as much. So yeah, there you go, guys. I have sway bars coming. They should be here in a couple days. I have the orange rear arms coming, and they should be here in a couple days too. And maybe I'll do a video on that when I get those. And so I'm super excited about using the sway bars, and that may help too with some of the traction roll I'm getting. The traction roll is going to go away in the summer. Right now, you know, it's moist outside, and we have had some rain, and the track is pretty much in like perfect condition as far as traction goes. It's really rough and bumpy, but the traction is just superb right now. So maybe in the summer, that traction roll is going to go away. You know, we'll see. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys have any questions or comments about this car, post down below in the comments. I'll try to answer them as good as I could, and I'll see you guys on the next video.